Hey everybody, it's Sunday afternoon and we're going to have a look at my waterfall tank here, and we're going to have a look at my red-clawed crab tank. I made some impulsive purchases. I went over to the Petsmart today seeing if they had anything on sale, being that it is more or less a holiday weekend. And they didn't really, but while I was there I made some sort of semi-rash decisions, and now we're going to have a look at them. So my first decision was I've given up on the idea of this being a native tank. The native fish I had in mind, either it's too late in the year to get them in there, or the ones I put in there have already died. So I've now got a opaline gourami swimming around in there. We'll get to see from time to time. I know there's a lot of cover for the fish to hide behind. But I decided another really bright, vibrant fish that I've wanted for a while but didn't really have a tank to put it in is a silver molly. And so I went ahead and got a silver molly. Nothing special about it necessarily, but I did get a male, so we should get some really impressive finnage and some really beautiful colors underneath of this amazing light. Once that fish starts growing in and filling into the tank a little bit. And I thought, you know what? I used to have a bunch of African dwarf frogs in several of my tanks, and I haven't for a long time now. And so I said, you know what? Throw 4 of them in the bag for me. And so now we've got dwarf African frogs. Now, some people say they're dwarf African clawed frogs. Some people just call them dwarf African frogs. It's the same thing. It's the same species. It just depends on how you want to identify them. So we're going to try 4 of them. I know with the open top tank, it is a possibility that they might climb out. But, you know, that's just how it goes sometimes. It's a risk I'm willing to take to have a tank like this. You know, sometimes that's just, you know, I can't cover this tank. It wouldn't be a tank like this anymore. So the frogs are going to be a really interesting addition in here, and I'm hoping I got them mixed up enough as far as male and female that we'll get to hear them sing one day. I don't know if you've ever heard these frogs singing in the tank before, but it's really neat. And so looking forward to seeing these guys in the tank. The other thing, and we'll get to releasing these in a minute, I'm just letting them acclimate. Now, I checked the temperature in the bags when I got home. It was 68.4 degrees in both bags. And this bag is significantly larger than this one, so, you know, it's only been maybe 20 minutes, 25 minutes from the time I left the store to the time I checked the temperature, so the temperature couldn't have come down that much. So they were 68.4 degrees. The tank here at room temperature is 68.2 degrees. So they're not really adjusting to temperature. They're basically just kind of adapting to my water for a few minutes just to kind of get used to all those extra tannins and stuff. I'm mixing the water up a little bit, and in a few minutes we'll go ahead and tip them out into the tank. Now I'm not worried about, you know, the pet store water getting in there or anything like that. We're not going to worry about that on this tank. So the other thing I got, sort of spur of the moment, was a male and a female red-clawed crab. So I finally did it. I finally got some more crabs. Let's see if we can open this with one hand. So there's the female. You can tell by the very small front claws. The males have those big sort of red boxing glove style claws. So there's a female. We're going to put her in. Of course, we're going to put the napkin in there too. I expected that to happen. So there's one. And then this one here is going to be the male. If I can get it out of the bag. And so there you can see the difference in the claws. Look how big and fat and red those are. That's the male. So the crab I've already got in here is one that's been left over from back in the day. And it's lost most of its color. I saw it this morning. It was out a little bit, but its claws are sort of pale. Its body's kind of flattened out and pale. And so I don't know if that's because it doesn't have any competition, if it doesn't have any females in the tank with it. I don't know if it's just getting old or the tank conditions are poor. I'm not really sure what was going on with it, but it's just not very healthy looking anymore. And so, let me stand up here before my knees give out on me, squatting down like that. And so I just decided, why not? And well, I can tell you why not. The reason that I've been trying not to get more crabs for this tank for a while now is because I'm not like a crab enthusiast or anything. I'm not really excited about the idea of having these crabs. They're cool and everything, but I'm now committed to these crabs. That's sort of what the position I was in the first place. I was kind of waiting for that last one to die off and then I could do something else with this tank. Instead, I've just added 2 more and we're kind of starting the cycle over. So I now have 2 young crabs in the tank, and you know, all things considered, hopefully things will go well and they'll stay alive. And so now for the next however many years they're going to be alive, I'm kind of committed to having red claw crabs again. But you know, that's what it is, whatever. I'm not too worried about it. So I've got some red claw crabs again now. Now we're going to go ahead and tip out my molly here. So that's a little one too. And for anybody who follows along regularly and is wondering about my recent leak in the tank here, it sort of went away on its own. It just kind of stopped leaking, and we'll address that later. We'll talk about that at some point. I'm not going to get into that in this video, but I didn't do anything to it, and it's not leaking anymore, and so we're going to let it ride for the time being. But again, we'll address that in the very near future in some upcoming videos. So I think I got one stuck up here in the top corner of the bag. It's one of the reasons you want to turn the bags upside down at the fish store when you put a, you know, you double bag them, so that they can't get their noses down into that corner and then they get themselves stuck. Kind of like this one is now doing. There you go. Swim downwards. One more. There we go, there's all 4 of them. So we've now got 4 African dwarf frogs. We've got an opaline gourami. We've got a male silver molly, and we've still got my white suckerfishes in there, and I'm not sure about the crayfish or the darters. I've not seen either in the last couple days. It's entirely likely that the crayfish has gone AWOL. There's no reason to think not. Crayfish are climbers. They get out of tanks regularly. I was kind of hoping if there was nobody in there bothering him, he wouldn't have any reason to climb out. But, you know, you can see it would be pretty easy for a crayfish to just climb up and out of this tank without any issue at all. So that's a possibility that the crayfish is already gone. It is also a possibility the crayfish is still in there hiding and I just haven't seen it. And then, of course, the darters are also, it's a sculpin and a darter in there, and they have not been seen in the last several days. So I don't know where they would have gone. So I haven't seen their bodies or anything like that. They haven't jumped out of the tank. So presumably we've still got the darter and the sculpin in there. I just haven't seen them. So it's pretty cool when you look in from the top. You can see the frogs sitting on the rocks. And that's exactly what I was hoping for. I'm hoping you'll be able to see the frogs. A lot of times they'll float near the surface. They'll just keep their back legs kind of splayed out and they'll float with just their nose sticking up out of the water. So it'll be interesting to be able to come in here and, you know, walk in the room and surprise a couple of frogs that'll be floating on the surface. So there's my little impulsive update. We got some new crabs down here in my red-clawed crab tank. We got some new fish, and we've got some new frogs. So make sure you're subscribed and you won't miss anything. Again, that was an impulsive purchase. I got stuff going on this afternoon, so I don't know what else I'm going to be able to get to or get done down here today. I do want to talk about my leaky waterfall. I've still got my video about lights that I want to shoot, and I still want to talk about the osmotic shock and nitrate shock and all that. I've not forgotten about that either. It's just been a little problematic for me to get these videos all shot this week. I've been kind of shooting little mishmash whatevers. So make sure you're subscribed and you won't miss any of it, and hopefully you'll get to watch the progress of all these exciting new animals I just brought home today, and you get to watch them grow out in this tank. So thanks again. Don't forget, this is my waterfall tank. I'll see you real soon in the next one.